Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you about the second half of June and also about the full moon that we have coming up in Sagittarius on the 20th. But the astrology for June feels powerfully evolutionary. I spoke in the last video about the importance of this new moon in Gemini that was forming the fourth corner of this mutable grand cross. And the mutable grand cross we have in early June, around the time of the full moon, 4th and 5th, but it also returns later in June from about the 20th to the 25th when Mercury forms that fourth corner. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the aspects that Mercury has to those other planets. But this, on a superficial level, as I spoke about last time, can create a lot of busyness, a lot of churn and flux. And on a superficial level, your energy may feel quite scattered. But on a deeper level, this is all about raising our consciousness this month in particular. If you have anything between 12 and 17 degrees of the mutable signs, and those are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, you might really feel that mutable grand cross early in June and also later, particularly from the 20th to the 25th. It's, as I say, a feeling of being pulled in all directions, but it's very important. There's quite a theme in June between Gemini and Sagittarius, because the new moon in Gemini on the 4th, 5th is about new information coming through to us, new patterns of thinking. It's very important if we want to move forwards in our lives that we release the old patterns of thinking that hold us back, that hold us in the past. But that new moon that was part of the mutable grand cross is sandwiched very unusually between two full moons in Sagittarius. One was at the end of May, the other is coming up on the 20th of June. And that's, as I say, quite unusual. The one at the end of May was at 1 degree of Sagittarius. The one we'll have on the 20th of June is right at the end of Sagittarius, 29 of Sagittarius. But the theme here with Sagittarius is about wisdom. It's about the power of our beliefs. And it's about developing a higher level of consciousness, about expanding our consciousness. So if our new information and our new thinking patterns come in via the Gemini emphasis we've had this month, equally we need to develop that, we need to integrate that into wisdom. Now at the full moon, which happens at 4:02 a.m. Pacific on the 20th and 12:02 p.m. UK time, we again have some very powerful geometry. And I want to talk a little bit about this because the geometry in June is very important. Astrology is a language of symbolism and geometry. The geometry is incredibly important for meaning to emerge. Now, at the new moon, as I spoke about last time, the new moon, and in fact the whole mutable grand square, was aligned with a point in space, which is very powerful, at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, known as the Great Attractor. This is a point in space around which many hundreds of galaxies spin. It's an incredible vortex of energy, which also emits immense amounts of cosmic radiation. Equally, at the full moon in Sagittarius, which is at 29:32 of Sagittarius, that is actually aligned with our galactic centre. The galactic centre is actually at 27 of Sagittarius, but the full moon is conjunct it. So the galactic centre is literally the centre of the centre of the rotation of our Milky Way. So again, this is powerful geometry, and something I've noticed very much in people's birth charts is if they have planets or angles close to 27 degrees of Sagittarius, they tend to be very sensitive to energy, to vibration. They may be very electrically sensitive, or they may be able to see energy very easily. So there's definitely something here about shifting and refining our consciousness when we align to these powerful points. And if you look historically at astrology, way back in history, the ancient peoples before telescopes could only see with the visible eye as far as Saturn. But once Uranus was discovered, and then Neptune and Pluto and Chiron really quite recently in 1979, these are elements of our psyche, elements of our consciousness that are developing in humankind that have to become integrated. And equally, my view is that these very important power points, if you like, in space are part of the development of our consciousness. Not only that, but this full moon at 2932 of Sagittarius is also conjunct a point in space known as the Aries Point. Now, whenever you have a planet and aspect happening round about the Aries Point, it tends to be thrown out onto the public stage as quite important in terms of world events. As an English person, of course, I'm very aware that that is ever so close to our EU referendum to decide whether the UK should actually remain in the EU or not, and that could have implications for the world. So we have to see how that unfolds, but that is certainly a very interesting point that may impact the world. But for you, in your own birth chart, where does 29 degrees of Sagittarius fall? Because a full moon is always about coming to fruition or completion or closure in that area of life for you. So if it's falling in your 10th house, there might be the completion of a project. If it's falling in your 4th house, it might be you're completing your period of stay in that particular home because you're going to be moving home. So just see where it falls. And if you don't know where 29 degrees of Sagittarius falls in your chart, please do check out the link appearing above me here or below in the description, because that will take you to my store and you can buy a 2-part tutorial video series which will really help you understand the meaning for you in your life, which will be much more than I'm just talking about generally here. But at this full moon, we have the Sun in Gemini opposing the Moon in Sagittarius. So we still have this Gemini Sagittarius theme of new thinking, new information that we must integrate into wisdom and expand our consciousness, become aware of the power of our beliefs in creating our reality, the power of our thinking and the power of our beliefs in creating our reality. And because we still have this mutable grand cross happening at this time, we have Mercury square to Jupiter, which is about expanding our visions. Interestingly, Jupiter is exactly within minutes of being very tightly together with the north node of the moon. So we're thinking a lot about our collective destiny, but we may also be thinking a lot about our personal destiny. And because the North Node and Jupiter are in Virgo, we may be thinking a lot about how can I be of selfless service to the world? What unique contribution can I give? Mercury is also square to Neptune, and Jupiter is opposing Neptune. So this is the mysticism that I've talked about quite a bit. This is about expanding your dreams, your idealism. It's also about thinking very compassionately. It's also about thinking very creatively. This stimulates our imagination. And Venus is part of this picture too at the full moon, because Venus is quite tightly conjunct the Sun. Venus is actually in Cancer, so we'll be feeling very loving and very compassionate, gentle, kind, sympathetic. All of those thoughts will be part of this full moon. And at a full moon, of course, feelings are often running very high. Feelings are coming to a head. So really try and stay in your center, but also stay in your heart. Remember that technique of breathing in and out through your heart, which immediately calms down all your body systems and actually expands your electromagnetic field. What increases the potency of this full moon is less than 12 hours later, we have the summer solstice, when the sun enters Cancer. Now, the ancient peoples always had ceremonies at this time because they knew that these were very powerful gateways of energy, portals of energy, and people so often get downloads of information at this time. So really there's some very powerful energy points through June. And you may, if you're of sensitive nature, really feel these shifts happening and new information coming in for you. Really don't forget to use your dreams. Mercury square to Neptune, Jupiter opposing Neptune can enlarge, can expand our dream life. So don't forget to keep a dream journal too. You can get so much inspiration, that's also Neptune, via your dreams. On the 27th of June, Chiron turns retrograde at 25 of Pisces and indeed stays retrograde right up until the 1st of December. So that is a time of inward healing. If there's still things you need to heal, a wonderful time to go inwards, to contemplate, particularly if there are emotional things to release. This is in Pisces, the most sensitive emotional sign of all the signs. Also, on the 29th of June, Mars, which has been moving retrograde since mid-April, becomes stationary on the 29th. So that particular day, whenever a planet is stationary, its symbolism is magnified. So we might find that there are strong Martian events happening in the world. But equally, if you have any deeply buried anger, this is in Scorpio, still to be released, that is a great time to do it. So use whatever technique is best for you, meditation or tapping or whatever helps you release that deeply held energy. Then Mars starts to move forwards, and it's almost an acceleration of energy as it moves forward. So if particularly you have a Scorpio emphasis and you felt really quite tired, that it was hard to get things moving, you will find from the end of June and increasingly through July, particularly actually from mid-August, for a particular reason with Mars, that your energy is getting stronger and better, and you can move things ahead. If you have your Sun, Moon or Ascendant anywhere around 23 of Scorpio, that is the point to which Mars is backing up, is retrograding before moving forwards again, you might really find some kind of personal relaunch, that you are more focused, more confident, you know where you're going, so you put out a different energy, a different identity to the world. So some incredibly rich things happening in June. It really does feel exciting. It really does feel shifting, and do use the mutable energy to get away from the scattered feeling, which is superficial, and to go with the flow of energy to take you to a different point in your consciousness. Really exciting. If you'd like more information about my book, my audiobook, my free monthly 4,000 word newsletter, my other tutorial videos, just check out my website pamgregory.com or thenextstep.uk.com. And thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful full moon in Sagittarius. Thanks for now.